We've all been there. You unlock your phone to check a quick email, and 45 minutes later, you're knee deep in a thread about why cats are secretly plotting world domination. Digital addiction isn't just a buzzword anymore, it's a challenge. Google is on a mission to make your smartphone feel a little more, well, smart and a little less distracting. Today on the Digit Show, we are looking at Google's new Android 17 features, plus there's a massive expansion in how our Android phones talk to and steal creators from the iPhone ecosystem. So from AI-generated widgets to the end of the airdrop war, the walls are finally coming down. I'm your host Manas Tiwari. Let's head inside and break down the latest features coming to your Android phones this year. Leading the charge is a new feature called Pause Point. Now, we've had app timers before, but Pause Point is slightly different. It's essentially a speed bump for your brain. When you try to open an app you have labeled as distracting, let's say a Snapchat or an Instagram, a 10-second timer pops up. It won't block you, but it will suggest breathing exercises or offer to open a productivity app instead. Think of it like a digital conscious. And for those of you who have zero self-control, be warned, because you can't just swipe this away. To turn Pause Point off, you'll actually have to do a full phone restart. But if you're going to be on your phone, if you'll keep using it, Google wants you to be a creator, not just a consumer. So this summer, Pixel users are getting screen reaction. It's a direct shot at the reaction video trend. So with just a few taps, you can record your screen while your selfie camera puts you in a cutout right on top of the content. You don't need any editing tools. You don't need any other help. So while you are dunking on a bad take or explaining a web page, it's going to make production much faster, especially for those one-man show creators out there. Now, moving to the great file sharing piece, Tweety. Remember when sending a photo between Android and an iPhone was a huge task? Well, those days are ending because Google is expanding quick share interportability to Xiaomi, Honor and OnePlus devices. But the real kicker, even if you're sending it to an iPhone that is not compatible yet, quick share can now generate a QR code. The iPhone user scans it and the file goes straight to their iCloud. And later this year, this tech will also be baked directly into apps like WhatsApp. And of course, it won't be 2026 without a heavy dose of AI. So taking a page out of Nothing's design book, Google is launching Create My Widget powered by Gemini. Now you can build custom home screen widgets using natural language. So you can actually tell your phone, give me a weather widget for my cycling route that highlights wind speed, or build me a protein heavy meal planner. It's about moving away from those static icons to live personalized data feeds, and this hits Pixel as well as Samsung Galaxy phones this summer to begin with. And finally, for the switchers, those who want to move away from iPhone to an Android, you've been waiting for the seamless iPhone to Android migration promised by both Apple and Google. And while iOS 26.3 added the wireless hooks for messages, layouts and eSIMs, we were waiting on Android. Now, Google has confirmed that Android 17 devices will support this wireless handoff later this year. So, whether you're staying put or jumping ship, your digital life is getting a lot more fluid. Moving on, look, we all know the best camera is the one that you have in your pocket. And with AI tools and screen reactions we just saw, smartphones are closer than ever to being a studio in a pocket. But can they actually replace a dedicated rig? To find out, we sat down with the folks at Canon. Let's hear it from them.
Alright, so today I'm at Rishikesh because Canon is globally launching their brand new R series, and I'm here at the event with one of the key member behind Canon's vision, Mr. Tiger Ishii, President, Canon's Marketing Asia. Now, what he thinks about Canon's vision for their next generation of cameras and content creators, let's find out. So joining me today is Mr. Tiger Ishii. So, hi Tiger, welcome to the Digit.
Thank you.
So, Tiger, what's the biggest vision behind the newly launched Canon EOS?
We are so happy to be here to launch this new model into India.
Okay.
Since India has a huge potential, not only just economic strong growth, lots of younger generations, and also huge potential with YouTubers. That's why we are happy to launch this as a center of the launching in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you tell me which smartphone do you use?
I use iPhone.
Okay, iPhone.
Yeah.
So you are an iPhone user, right?
Yep.
And you know, most creator makes their content on their phone only, right? And many big filmmakers like Sriram Raghavan have shot on iPhone as well. So according to you, what makes a camera, especially Canon?
Actually, most of the people may say smartphone might be a competitor of camera, but I don't think so. Smartphone is camera's friend, partner.
Okay.
Smartphone create the world of imaging bigger and bigger. We sincerely appreciate those smartphones' role. And now the time people step up to using those kind of cameras to use more deeper view or wider view or various kinds of occasions. So that's why we sincerely like to collaborate with smartphones and step up to using our cameras. So that's what we are thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, India has become one of the fastest growing creator economy in the world.
Yes.
So how important is the Indian market for Canon right now?
As I mentioned, India is a huge potential market, most important market. That's why this time we have launched EOS R6V, and timing-wise, India, we centered at the time of India, and then globally, every country follow India time of launching. So US, Japan, Europe, every country follow the time of launching of India.
Okay.
Because we cannot centralize the launching of this product as India.
Okay. Coming to AI again, because it's a buzzword right now. AI is becoming a huge part of imaging. So how is Canon using AI in cameras without taking away the human creativity part of photography?
Actually, for AI, for Canon is very much important.
Okay.
This is two ways. One is productivity of our working. So not only R&D, production, or manufacturer, factory production, or even office working, we are using AI to more higher productivity, and also put into the AI various kinds of technology into the products and the solutions.
Okay.
And since we shouldn't just follow AI, since creation or photo taking must belong to a human factor. So that's why we sincerely like to respect the photographers, imaging, capturing persons' will. So that's why we sincerely like to collaborate with AI with the human factors.
Okay.
That's our intention.
Okay. So, you know, a lot of creators shoot vertically and, you know, horizontally,
Vertically,
correct?
horizontal, yes, yes.
Right. So, and they also, you know, even do live streaming. So, when Canon designed the modern camera now, so how much does creator behavior influence the product?
Yeah.
How they influence the product?
That's very important. That's why we have learned a lot from our creators.
Okay.
And this time, as we mentioned, vertical shooting. That's why we put the tripod hole here. That's why easy to use this.
Okay.
And also even automatically image can shift vertically. Those kind of, not only that, we put a lots of creators' ideas how to shoot, put into this
Okay.
to use it nicely.
Okay, so year by year, we are seeing now cameras on smartphones are just getting better and better, right? They're offering advanced camera system. Now you see like the Vivo phone, Oppo phone, they are, you know, giving the telephoto converter kit to the phone itself, right? So do you think the gap between phones and professional camera is narrowing a bit?
I don't think so. As I mentioned, smartphone is our friend and partners. So mutually, we can create a big industry and imaging world. So we sincerely like to play a role with smartphone to let the people enjoy imaging and photo taking, video shooting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last question. And finally, if you had to describe the future of Canon cameras in one sentence, what would that sentence be?
Canon camera
Canon
for
future,
future
yes.
is for everyone's shooting items.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Canon would like to be.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Tigerish.
Thank you.
And that's why the real cameras will still have a place in this world. More on the Digit Show right after this short break. Stick around. Welcome back to the Digit Show. I am your host Manas Tiwari. Now, if you're looking for a new smartphone but don't want to empty your savings account, the light segment has just been set on fire. The OnePlus Nord CE6 Lite has officially landed in India, and after putting it through its paces in the Digit Test Labs, we might just have a new heavyweight champion for the budget crown. Is it truly the best in class? Let's break down the benchmarks and the build.
On this episode, in the Digit Test Labs, we are pitting 3 sub 25,000 rupees phones in a 6-hour performance and battery drain marathon. Yes, you heard that. Not high-end, but pure mass market mid-range phones, the devices which drive the actual sales. We have the new kid on the block, the OnePlus Nord CE6 Lite versus the iQOO Z11X versus the Poco X7. Now, for obvious reasons, the Nord CE6 Lite and Z11X are walking into this with the clear advantage over the Poco for having 7000 mAh and 7200 mAh batteries respectively. However, before you jump to conclusions, you are in for a surprise. So watch until the end as we have got our setup ready with all phones being 100% charged. Brightness is set to 500 nits manually, the display profiles are set to natural, the refresh rates are set to default, and all phones are connected to the same 5 GHz Wi-Fi network. Hello everyone, Aman here for Digit. We are in the Digit Test Labs, and now let's get started. I am kicking things off with 2 hours of pure performance testing. Now I know what you're thinking. These are mid-range mass market phones, not dedicated gaming ones, but there's a reason I'm starting here. The OnePlus Nord CE6 Lite makes some pretty bold claims about 144 FPS in casual games and 90 FPS in shooters, and I wanted to see if it lives up to the hype. And so with Subway Surfers, I was actually surprised. The Nord CE6 Lite was constantly hitting that 143 to 144 FPS mark, making the gameplay feel incredibly fluid. In comparison, the iQOO Z11X and the Poco X7 were both locked at 60 FPS. It is one of those things where you don't think you need a high refresh rate for a casual game until you actually experience the smooth performance, and naturally, the Nord is significantly smoother. When we switched over to COD Mobile, the gap closed a bit, but the experience stayed consistent. All 3 devices managed to hit the 90 FPS target, which is great for this price segment. However, the Nord CE6 Lite felt just a bit more stable during intense gunfights and stayed remarkably cool at 33.3 degrees Celsius, whereas the iQOO started climbing towards 37 degrees Celsius. We also squeezed in some BGMI rounds where the Nord was the only one in this group to actually touch and maintain that 90 FPS mark, while the other 2 stayed in the 50 to 60 FPS range, which is quite solid. Now, to wrap up this first round, we transitioned into a series of benchmarks to see how these Apex and Turbo chips actually handled sustained stress. In Geekbench 6, the results were very interesting. The Nord CE6 Lite led the pack in both single-core and multi-core performance, clocking in at 1068 and 2953 respectively. The Poco X7 followed closely behind, while the iQOO Z11X trailed slightly. It is clear that OnePlus has tuned the Dimensity 7400 Apex chip to handle heavy lifting quite well. In Anther 2, the Nord CE6 Lite went past the 1 million mark, scoring 1.04 million while maintaining a comfortable surface temperature of 34.6 degrees Celsius. The iQOO wasn't far behind in raw score, but was definitely running warmer at 38.3 degrees Celsius. Finally, in the 3D Mark Wildlife stress test to check the graphics consistency, the Nord CE6 Lite turned in a 99.1% stability score. To be fair, the iQOO and Poco were right there too with 99.3% and 99.5% respectively. This tells us that this entire segment has become excellent at managing thermals, but the Nord sets a very high initial performance ceiling that it just refuses to drop from. So after this grueling 2-hour gauntlet, both the OnePlus Nord CE6 Lite and the iQOO Z11X are sitting at 85% battery, while the Poco X7 has already dropped to 77%. It's a solid start for the big battery phones, but we've still got 4 more hours to go. So with the heavy lifting out of the way, we gave the phones and our thumbs a bit of a breather with a 2-hour YouTube video playback session. Now, in the sub 25,000 rupees price segment, you usually see a divide in display tech. The Poco X7 sports an AMOLED panel which naturally gives you those deep inky blacks that look great in a dark room. However, the OnePlus Nord C6 Lite and the iQOO Z11X take a different approach with their LCD panels. What I appreciate about the Nord's tuning is the natural color profile. It is not overly saturated. In fact, it's a very clean color calibration that makes long-form content easy on the eyes. Plus, for those of us who are sensitive to PWM flickering, often found on affordable AMOLED screens, a high-quality LCD like the one on the Nord is actually much more comfortable choice for long hours of looking at the screen. But the real story here isn't just about the tech, it's about how that tech sips power, and after 2 hours of continuous streaming at about 500 nits, the efficiency of the Dimensity 7400 Apex chip really started to shine. Despite the Poco having the theoretically more efficient display tech, it was actually the OnePlus Nord C6 Lite that held onto its lead more effectively during this round. We started the round with the Nord and iQOO at 85%, but by the end, the Nord C6 Lite was sitting at 73%. While the iQOO dropped to 71%, the Poco, which started the round at 77%, tumbled down to 65%. Moving into the 1 hour video recording round, this is where we usually see these mid-range chipsets start to feel the heat. We are splitting the R between the rear and front cameras. I started the recording with the phones at 31.5 degrees Celsius for the iQOO, 29 degrees Celsius for the Nord, and 30 degrees Celsius for the Poco. Before we dive into the results, let's talk hardware. The OnePlus Nord C6 Lite features a 50 megapixel main camera paired with a 2 megapixel depth sensor. For your selfies and video calls, there's an 8 megapixel front camera. While it can shoot 4K 30 FPS from the rear, it is capped at 1080p 30 FPS for the front. The iQOO Z11X also has a 50MP plus 2MP rear setup along with a 32 megapixel front camera. You can shoot up to 4K 30 FPS videos from both the front and back. The Poco X7 features a triple 50MP main plus 8MP ultra-wide and a 2MP macro setup. There's a 20 megapixel front camera. For video recording, there's 4K 30 FPS support on the rear and 1080p 60 FPS on the front. So as we hit the 30-minute mark on the rear camera recording, I did a quick temperature check. The iQOO was at 41 degrees Celsius. The OnePlus Nord C6 Lite was sitting pretty at 32.6 degrees Celsius. And the Poco was at 39.1 degrees Celsius. I have to say, seeing the Nord stay that cool while recording 4K video is seriously impressive for this segment. It was barely even lukewarm to the touch. Then we flipped over to the front-facing camera for the final 30 minutes. By the end of this session, the temperatures had settled even further. The iQOO was at 35.6 degrees Celsius, the OnePlus Nord C6 Lite was at 31.6 degrees Celsius, and the Poco was at 34 degrees Celsius. The thermal discipline on the Nord is definitely the best I've seen in this test. So after a total of 5 hours, the battery numbers are telling a very clear story. The OnePlus Nord C6 Lite is still leading the pack with 63% battery remaining. The iQOO Z11X is right behind at 59%, but the Poco X7 is really starting to sweat now, sitting at 50%. So for the final stretch of our 6-hour gauntlet, I ran an hour of Instagram on all 3 smartphones because let's be real, this is probably the most real-world test of the lot, because most of us spend a huge chunk of our day just scrolling through reels and stories. And by this stage, the OnePlus Nord C6 Lite was already in a commanding position, and it just continued to flex its efficiency. With that, after the final hour of social media, the results are officially in. The OnePlus Nord C6 Lite finished at 56% battery. The iQOO Z11X put up a solid fight, ending at 51%. The Poco X7 ended the test at 43% battery. So after these 6 hours of absolute torture, a lot of things are clear. While the iQOO and Nord walked into this with a massive battery advantage over the Poco, the OnePlus Nord C6 Lite is the one that really stood out for its consistency. It didn't win on battery life, it won on thermal discipline. Staying at 32.6 degrees Celsius during 4K video recording from the rear camera is unheard of in this segment. When you factor in that it was the only phone to actually hit 144 FPS in casual games and 90 FPS in both BGMI and Call of of Duty Mobile, it becomes a very easy recommendation for anyone who wants high performance along with solid thermals. The Poco X7 and the iQOO Z11X are definitely no slouches, but for that performance per watt crown, the Note C6 Lite takes the win. It proves that with the right optimization, you can have a mass market smartphone that handles heavy lifting like a pro. And that's all for this video in the Digit Test Labs. I'll catch you all in the next one. Thank you for watching.
That's our show for today. Whether you're capturing your next viral reaction video on a Pixel or building a custom AI widget to plan your weekend, remember, gadgets are just the tools. The real magic, that's still up to you. We'll be back next week with updates from Google's developer conference and more hands-on benchmarks from the Digit Test Labs. Until then, keep exploring, keep creating, and don't forget to look up from that screen once in a while. This is your host, Manas Tiwari, signing off. See you next Saturday, 8:30 a.m. only on Times Now.